Hello students, today we are going to talk about record management and its importance in any organization. In our daily routine, we all must have come across numerous types of records that we all are familiar with. You may not notice, but almost everything around us is a record, and we are going to learn and discuss about records and record management today. To get a clear understanding of records, we can take an example of the most famous sport in India, cricket. I assume that we all know and probably have played cricket as well. In India, there are millions of cricket crazy fans. Cricket has three different formats: Test cricket, One Day cricket and T20 internationals. While watching a cricket match, one of the things that we come across is the information about players, about their batting, bowling, number of wickets they took, number of runs they made, etc. This information is nothing but record related to this sport. There are so many websites. For example, ESPNcricinfo.com, cricket.com, and numerous books are also available which gives us the information about cricket. Not only cricket, but for each and every sport, whether national or international, records are maintained in different formats and capacity. These records are all very important in benchmarking the performance of players and their teams and help analysts analyze and compare the performance of individual based on their performance. For example, the 100th century record created by Sachin Tendulkar is benchmark for a lot of youngsters pursuing the game of cricket, or 9.58 second record for a 100-meter race set by Usain Bolt is something that every sprinter looks up to. Obviously, a compilation of different types of records definitely helps in understanding the player in a much better way. All of this is nothing but the records which are used by statisticians around the world for different sort of analysis. You all must be aware that thousands of organizations are running in the country, be it business organizations, educational institutes, hospitals, etc. And each and every organization also needs to keep variety of records for their own benefit. In fact, records are not only kept by organizations, but even you and I maintain it on a daily basis. We can take an example of a salaried individual maintaining the monthly record of expenses, or a school or college keeping and maintaining records of enrolled students, faculty members and the administration staff. For example, the total number of students taking admission and the number of students passing out in a semester or year, the attendance list of all the students, the total strength of teaching staff, a record of a faculty's documents, resume, educational testimonials, etc. needs to be maintained. The same also goes with the administrative staff. There can be many more examples of records that we come across in our day-to-day routine. It won't be wrong to say that we are surrounded by heaps of records that we use knowingly or unknowingly on almost daily basis. A proper record management system actually helps the organization for smooth functioning of their activities. Before proceeding further, let's understand the formal definition of record. A record is nothing but collection of an item or data which is used for future references. Any written data or information that is made for possible further use is referred to as a record. Any document which is created, received and stored in any business is a record. Records constitute the memory of any organization. Records can be either tangible objects such as paper documents like birth certificates, driver license, etc. or digital information such as electronic office documents, data in databases, website content and electronic mails, etc. Next, we need to understand what is record management its meaning and importance, and the steps involved in it. Why do we have to manage the records? What is the need of managing records? Now, we will try to find answers of these questions. Students, managing record is a very important task for any organization. As we know, record means information about any organization. Without a proper record management, an organization will not be able to operate its functions. Managing the data or keeping the records properly helps any organization to do its future planning or to improve its quality. Let's look at a manufacturing company. Do you know what are the essential tasks in any manufacturing company? What are the questions that arise on a daily basis? Here is a small list. How much quantity of raw material should they order? How many number of workers should be engaged? Number of machines needed? What type of skilled laborers are required? Number of days required for producing required number of items? Transport, contractors, their bills, total cost of production, and so many more things are there to taken care of. If management keeps a record of these things, then we will be helpful to provide answers to the questions very easily and effectively. This information can also be used for the next year or quarter planning for the production and purchasing. They can refer last year records and they can make a list of do's and don'ts for the current year to achieve more profit. It can also improve quality of their product. So in that way, keeping record is very important. I can give you another example of the files of all our academic records or records of our extracurricular activities or other achievement. We keep all those records in a file format so that at the time of interview we can use all these documents required for job. Now that we know the importance of managing the records, the next thing that we need to understand is who in any organization is responsible for managing all these records, or in other words, who should be the appropriate person to collect and keep the records properly. The 2009 Adani Institute of Infrastructure Management survey on record management found that responsibility for records management is scattered all over the organization. It can be found in the executive suite, with the finance, with the corporate secretary, with legal, with lines of business and with IT. This distribution over the organization is common to both physical and electronic records. When it comes to physical and paper records, unsurprisingly, there is a definite bias towards the lines of business and legal department carrying the responsibility. However, responsibility for electronic records leans strongly towards IT. The key to understand this scattering of responsibility is the size of the organization. Many organizations, particularly smaller ones, do not have a specifically defined record management activity. As they do not have specifically defined record management activity, they are unlikely to have individuals specifically charged with managing records. On the other hand, larger organizations have record management teams and activities relating to the maintenance and preservation of information. So, to summarize, responsibility of keeping records in any organization depends upon the size of the organization. So, next question that comes in our mind is, should we keep each and every record or bill or paper related to the organization? In short, what should we keep and what should we throw or get rid of? Also, how long the record should be retained? Do we keep them forever? As indicated earlier, in our daily life, either in office or at home, daily we deal with hundreds of records. For example, a housewife keeps records of her daily household items, her daily purchasing, bills of electricity, telephone, laundry, grocery, etc. So, how long should she keep all these records? Please understand, record retention is heavily dependent on the type of record. That means each and every document, record is not equally important. In the example, a housewife may decide to keep her records for a minimum 3 months. In offices or in organizations, business owners must comply with government requirements regarding record keeping. A company's records prove the amount of taxes it owes, details its hiring practices, shows compliance with regulations, and reports many other types of business activities. The amount of time a company must keep these records or file depends on the type of record involved and the time limitations on the underlying activity that the document describes or substantiates. So, there is no clear answer as to what records should be retained or for how long. This would need a review based on the type of records. Here, we can classify the records in two types. One is active record and second one is inactive records. So, as name implies, active records are documents which are still actively being used by an office. They are usually referenced on a daily or monthly basis. Often these records will be located in a handy place within the office since they are used frequently. And an inactive record is a record that is no longer needed to conduct current business but is being preserved until it meets the end of its retention period. Such as when a project ends, a product line is retired, or the end of fiscal reporting period is reached. These records may hold business, legal, fiscal or historical values for the entity in the future and therefore are required to be maintained for a short or permanent duration. Records are managed according to the retention schedule. Next we come to a very important topic, life cycle of a record. What is the life cycle of a record? Do you know? Like a human life, a record also has a life cycle. A core concept of record management is the life cycle of a record. The life cycle of record includes phases ranging from creation of the record to the final disposition of the record. The length of time that a specific record is considered current, retained in storage and destroyed varies, and it is based on the business function as well the legal and regulatory requirements. There are 4 phases to the life cycle of records. First is creation. Creation is the first stage in the life cycle of a record when they are created or received. Data should be recorded in the forms accurately and completely. The time period for which the records are kept should be determined properly. After creation, the second stage is identifying records. Identification of record means testing the authenticity of records. That is, how unique your record is or how a record is connected with the other records. Fundamental to the management of records is the ability to identify a record, locate it within the storage area and retrieve it when required. After identification of records, a very important task is storing a record. Therefore, the third stage is storing. Storage of records. As you know, storing a record safely is very important for any organization because a record contains the memory of any organization. Record must be stored in such a way that they are accessible and safeguarded against environmental damage. Paper documents are typically stored in the file cabinets, in the offices or in some cases. Electronic documents are typically stored in hard drives or databases. Retrieval of records. As you know, the main purpose of any record is that it should be available whenever required. Therefore, purpose of maintaining records is to make them available for future references. Efficient filing procedure should be designed to retrieve the records in time. Electronic records should be classified properly for easy retrieval. The next step is circulating records. Circulation of records means tracking the record while it is away from the normal storage area. Disposal of records. Disposal of records does not always means destruction. This stage is concerned with disposal of unnecessary records. A record retention schedule is made under which records are classified into various categories like records required forever and records required for different periods ranging from 3 months to 25 years. Valuable documents are preserved in waterproof and fireproof cabinets. The documents which are no longer required should be destroyed. Most organizations use processes including pulverization, paper shredding, etc. Now, we will take an example of life cycle of records. I hope by this example you will understand the life cycle of any record from its creation to its disposal. Let's look at the stages by taking an example of college records. When a student goes for admission, so he or she has to fill a form which is converted into record for the college database. In the same way, college needs to take information of each and every student, so this is called creation and identification of records. College needs to maintain every record and store them for years. A small subset of the college records will be retained permanently in the record management off-site storage facility. If a pass-out college student wants some of his or her information, or if he needs any record from college database, so he can go and ask and apply for the information needs. If the information is not confidential, college administration can provide available information to the student from their stored records. This is retrieval of records. Practically, it is not possible to keep every record for so many years. The majority of the college business and administrative records are non-permanent, and these records will be destroyed when they have no more value to the college. This is disposal of records. I hope example is complete in explanation of record life cycle from its creation to disposal. Now, we will discuss the advantages of record management. By record management, we can keep an orderly account of progress. This is, we can save or file the memoranda of transaction. Students, it is very important to keep the preserving memoranda of transaction. It may be financial transaction or any other kind of transaction. A systematic record management program adds value to the daily functions of the staff. Some important and common benefits we will discuss here. Record management organizes information for retrieval when needed. Protecting records that are essential to critical business operations. Reducing risk in litigation, government investigations and the legal discovery process, thereby avoiding costly fines or other penalties. Minimizing storage requirements, space, equipment and supplies for a given quantity of records. Destroy or delete records according to the records retention schedules. Reducing the time and effort required to reconstruct vital information in the event of disaster, theft and other losses. Helps in business planning and decision making, particularly in the context of changing circumstances. Students, now you are aware of what is a record, what is record management, what is the need of record management, what are the advantages of record management. Now, we will discuss about the storage space of record management. That means how many different ways are there to store your record. As you know, record management is very important to manage our daily course. Business information management has huge potential value, but it is also subject to security risk, cost and management challenges. Your business records hold tremendous operational, financial and legal values. Keeping them safe and accessible when you need them and securely depositing them when you don't need them. So, before starting storage for records, let's discuss about types of records, paper files, emails, audio tapes, CCTV tapes, videos, raw data, electronic files, databases, photographs, etc. are some examples of records. We can classify records in two ways. First is physical records. Physical records are paper, bills, etc. Second type is electronic records. Electronic records are mail, electronic documents, data in databases, etc. Now, how to store records? So, students, here are different ways to store physical records and electronic records. Filing system is a very good way to store our physical records. As you know, and we have discussed earlier, that we all keep all our documents, educational certificates and other certificates in a file. There are some important things that we should keep in our mind while storing physical records. Make sure the files are easy to use and maintain. Keep the storage space free from clutter. We should be very much sure about the storage area. It should be weatherproof and protected from flooding, fire, infestation. Security of files are also very important aspect. Let's take some points that are very important for an effective filing system. Creating file categories. For good filing system, we need to sort our documents or records into broad categories based on their type. For example, financial documents, sales records, etc. Subcategorizing. Subcategories means divide your categories or breaking papers into smaller subcategories, like your finances file could be divided into savings account, checking account, student loan, credit card account, etc. Color coding. Each major category of paperwork should be assigned a different color, obviously of your choice, and then put each its subcategories into an individual hanging file folder. It seems like a small thing, but color coding your system will save a huge amount of time in filing and retrieving papers. For example, finances might be green and each of your accounts gets a separate green file folder. Label making. Now the next step is to label each colored file. When creating your labels, move from general to specific. Keep related files in close proximity to each other. Do this again and again for every grouping of files until you have labeled every file in each major category. Filing your drawer. Now, put the files within each major category in alphabetical order and then put the major categories themselves into the drawer in alphabetical order. Place the colored folders in hanging box bottom folders to keep them upright in the drawer. Whenever you need to find a document or put something in a folder, just look first for the correct major category. With the right filing system, it's easy to put your hands on the correct file without a lot of searching. Now, we are well aware of filing system and physical record storage. Let's think about the storage of electronic records. For electronic records, require documents to be formally declared as a record so they can be managed. Once declared, a record cannot be changed and can only be disposed or within the rules of the system. While storing the electronic records, we should keep points in mind. Security. Electronic documents should be protected using various security mechanisms using password protection. Access to these documents should also be determined and restricted as per the organization policy. For example, employees' private information should only be accessible to Human Resource Department. Email document retention policy. Organization infrastructure team should determine how long electronic document like email, spreadsheet, reports, etc. should be retained based on their relevance. For example, infrastructure team may choose to retain email on the server for a period of 6 months. Any information older than this should be automatically deleted. There are some more things which we should consider while storing electronic records, such as if we are sharing our record with someone, ensure that your shared drives are well organized. Avoid meaningless file titles such as John's file or miscellaneous or general, as it can create confusion. Make sure that you save records where they can be accessed by your team if you are off sick, on holiday or absent from the office. Store them on the shared drive. Now some points come in our mind. Should they only be available to certain people? Do they need to be locked away? For any record, whether it is physical or electronic, it may be covered by access controls to regulate who can access them and under what circumstances. Physical controls may be used to keep confidential record secure personal files. For instance, which hold sensitive personal data may be held in a locked cabinet with a control lock to track access. Digital record system may include role-based access controls, allowing permission to be allocated to staff depending on their role in the organization. An audit trail showing all access and changes can be maintained to ensure the integrity of the records. So, to summarize, record management is one of the most important activities for a proper functioning of any organization. A good record management can ensure good quality of service and products and thereby increase profit and return on investment. I hope the presentation was helpful. Thank you.